Greetings, kindred. I'm wishing you all a very reflective new moon. And yeah, there's been a lot going on, isn't there, since the last full moon? Um, wow, it's like where to begin. Well, let's begin with the date and the time and everything. So the new moon will begin on the 14th of October at 18:55 in the GMT time zone, at 13:55 in the EDT time zone, and on the 15th of October at 4:55 in the AEDT time zone. So the new moon solar eclipse will actually begin kind of like an hour after the eclipse kind of reaches its maximum. Yeah. So the eclipse will actually begin overall at 15:03 UTC and will actually finally end, and I'm talking globally, at 20:55 UTC. So, it depends on what area you're in, really, but overall, it goes on for that amount of time globally. But the maximum, actually, of the eclipse is at 17:59 UTC. So just to let you know that if you want to prepare for those times, but do check out in your area, what time it would be. And yeah, so these are UTC times that I've given you. So the new moon will begin in Virgo. And as you can see, there's a little stellium now in opposition to the North Node and Chiron. But it's the North Node and the stellium that are making this T squared towards Pluto. So, wow. I mean, let's start with the sun and moon. I mean, they're right in the center of the stellium. So as you can see on one side, we still have this Mars South Node conjunction going on, although there's 7 degrees between them. It's still quite a strong energy. And then on the other side, we have Mercury conjunct Pallas. And Mercury is actually at 22 degrees. So like I said in my last video at the full moon, which I actually called emotional eruptions. And, we did have this Mars South Node going on then. And I was saying like it's very antagonizing, and we tend to question military values or military actions. Do you know what I mean? So, or militaristic, I should say, not necessarily the military itself. But what I feel this stellium is telling us is that on one side of the fence, we have all this antagonism going on. And on the other side, we've got this clear perspective, where we're really above the grain, we're really above, but like when it comes to taking sides and that we see the patterns, we recognize things that maybe others don't see. So with the sun and the moon in a solar eclipse, in the middle, wow, because a solar eclipse is where we don't tend to tap into our conscious mind. It's where our conscious mind enters into the unconscious. So it's like the dark unconscious takes over. And yeah, so we have to follow our instincts. Now, there's a very fine line between instincts and emotions. Do you know what I mean? So if we're really emotional and we feel we're following our instincts, and 9 times out of 10, we're actually following our emotions. So it really is time to take a deep breath and really analyze things from a higher perspective, especially since Mercury is at 22 degrees, So we'll talk about actually a little bit about the sun and moon, both at 26 degrees in Virgo. Now we know Virgo has an analytical mind. Virgo is, he's like this statistician. He's very good at accounts and stuff like that. So, 2 and 6 do add up to number 8, which is the number of Saturn. And Saturn is actually retrograde back to 3 degrees in Aquarius. Actually, he was there, I think, at the full moon. So, but look at that, 3 degrees, 3 minutes. So it's a double 3 there. So, this is very kind of like life, death, rebirth. It is the number of Jupiter. And Jupiter is actually retrograded back to 14 degrees in Aries. Now, I'm so glad it's not the number 15. So 1 and 4 do add up to 5. And, so it can be productive if we allow ourselves like the space, do you know what I mean, to think. But in Aries, we can tend to be a little bit rash. So let's break down 2 and 6. So 2, that is the number actually of a new moon. It's in its negative energy, which doesn't mean to say it's negative in a bad way. It means it's negative where it's on an inner level. So it's a feminine energy, which is all about growth. And, it's all about opposites, like the positive and the negative. So that is kind of like being hidden from us at the moment. That's in our unconscious minds. Do you know what I mean? And then we have the number 6, which is the symbol of Venus, which is all about cooperation and, relations of the sexes, like the masculine and the feminine, represents the human soul and the interplay of spirit and matter. So really, Venus is about also the economy. It's also about our life enjoyments, what we enjoy in life. And we can see that Venus is here, 16 degrees. Not fortunately, because if she was closer to the Black Moon Lilith, she would be kind of like balancing out the Black Lilith's negative energy. But as you can see, the Black Moon Lilith is conjunct Juno at 10 degrees. So 1 and 0 is the binary code. Again, it's all about the masculine and the feminine. And, Juno's all about commitment. The Black Moon is all about our shadow. And we are very deep in the shadow right now. And we're committing to and are loyal to things we may not truly understand at this time. You've got to remember Leo is all about pride, but he's also very loyal. So sometimes we can be loyal to things that are not right. We're just loyal because we're loyal people, and we will defend something regardless of whether it's right or wrong. And I think we need to be careful of that, leading up to the lunar eclipse that will take place in Aries, actually. So, and what I'm seeing from that chart, as just an overall picture, is there's a lot more confusion to come. Do you know what I mean? So although many of us are seeing clearer with clarity, many of us are just being kind of like stirred up, emotionally. So when we add the 2 and 6 together, like I said, we get the number 8, which is the number of Saturn. The number 8, actually, even though it represents Saturn or is the symbol of Saturn, it's also about fate, timelines, duration, dissolution, and it's all about justice as well. And in Aquarius, Aquarians are considered the humanitarians. And 3 is a pretty spiritual number, life, death, rebirth, and the number of Jupiter. So it's all about our morals and our principles, but in opposition here to the Black Moon Lilith, Venus, and Juno, it could be a blind spot right now. So all this antagonization, we need to be in a quiet space to really get the clarity and the vision and to rise above any self-doubts or, especially since Chiron is in opposition as well, because Chiron is all about our wounding. So really, all this antagonization and stuff, it really is opening up some old wounds, deep wounds, especially since Chiron is in Pisces, because Pisces is very ancient. It has a very ancient history together with Uranus, because Uranus and Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, used to work hand in hand. They were kind of like a pair. So it goes back to ancient times. And I did really want to say, I did a video recently with a lovely guy called Uma Stella. And I was talking about ancient history from my perspective and, who I associate who with and, astrologically, astronomically, and, when it comes to biblical stories and mythologies. So I was making connections. I've been making connections for quite a while now. And, I was talking about the Egyptian Osiris and Set, the two brothers that were half brothers. And I was also, these people in Sumerian are known as Enki and Enlil. But in the biblical story, they're known as Cain and Abel. And I really do feel there's an escalation around us right now, globally. And I think we're really seeing that. So I really do feel that video come out at the right time. Now, it's not on my channel. I did post it up on my website. So for those of you that just follow me on YouTube, I will actually post the link to that in the description box below. Or if I'm posting on BitChute or Rumble, I'll do the same. I'll post the link below so you can watch that video as well. Or go to my website and you can find it there. So, yeah, this stellium, with the moon in conjunction to Mercury, it is all about our intellectual awareness, mentally, emotionally. It's like where we're still very hypersensitive and feelings can't overrule reason with this conjunction here, especially since we're tapping more into our unconscious. So, there is a few degrees between them. But Mercury is really sitting right in the middle of the moon and the goddess Pallas. So, but this energy is fierce. I just feel because it's a node and it is a strong energy, it is vibrating through this stellium here. Like I said, the sun and moon are in the middle. So it's all about what we're thinking, how we're thinking right now. These two are all about the mind. These two is all about our natural instincts. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes those instincts can be influenced by environmental conditioning or environmental conditions, I should say. You have to excuse me, I've been traveling today because I've been away and I haven't been back long. So I really wanted to get this up and out to you. But let's talk a little bit about this T-square here with Pluto. The nodes have been in this T-square with Pluto for quite a while, but now this little stellium's joined in on it. Yeah, should be pretty interesting. So keep all that in mind, what I've just said. So with the moon in square to Pluto, this is could be very intense emotionally. It also creates like a really uneasy atmosphere. but it's also a destructive and abrupt energy. But it can bring in like a lot of drastic changes or drastic solutions. Do you know what I mean? And I think we're kind of seeing that. And with the goddess Pallas in square to Pluto, you know, if on the positive, it's all about self-discovery. It's all about us tapping into our wisdom and like surrendering to the transformation, not getting involved in power struggles. It's all about finding balance, but it can be an overwhelming time, very complex. Do you know what I mean? And this is where we got to trust our instincts. Again, finding that quiet space. Because if we're emotional, we're not following our instincts. If we're following our instincts, then we're being calm. Because with calm comes reason. You know, with calm comes perspective. You know, so, but with the South Node in square to Pluto, you know, this has been going on for a little while now. And it is all about reformation of our social and cultural structures, institutions, our philosophies, you know. And it's a time where it's a very revolutionary time. And Mars in square to Pluto, well, you know, that's very, very destructive, very, very, you know, it's a lack of direction. You know, these two together do create wars and riots and temper tantrums, and you know, it's a very egoistical energy where we can take things to foolish extremes. So you know, that is an energy we really need to be careful of. And we also have this kite here with Venus, actually, that's on the top, even though one side is actually in sextile to Juno and the Black Moon Lilith. Now remember, the Black Moon Lilith, it's dark and negative at first when we're going through the dark night of the soul. And many are and have been for quite a while. But like I've always said, it happens in bouts. So, you know, at 10 degrees, I really do feel a lot of people are kind of going through this transcendence right now. Through this time, there's you know, the awakenings are still happening. So you know, there's people that are coming out of the dark night of the soul and claiming their gifts and their wisdom. So on the whole, I think even though this period of time seems pretty dark, there is like little gems at the bottom, you know, that we will be collecting as long as we face our demons, face our fears, face our ego, you know, which is all connected to our shadow side, even though we should always walk the path of the shadow, you know, with the wisdom, to stay in that wisdom, to stay in that knowledge, to not forget the balance of the light and dark. Because like I said in my video I did with Uma, too much light can be bad for us and too much dark can be bad for us. We need to stay on middle ground. And it is a narrow path, but it is the path of the shadow. And that's why I've always referred to myself as a shadow walker, not a light worker or anything along those lines. I think like it's very shamanic as well to walk the path of the shadow, to walk the path of instinct and reason, having those two in balance, having our emotions, you know, we're all human. We're all going to get emotional at times, but how far do we take that? You know, we all have triggers in life, but where do we draw the line? And I think that is what some of us need to learn in the world right now. Where do we draw the line? So with this kite, I mean, it's air and earth kite that's occurring here. And you know, with Saturn in trine, well, Saturn is in retrograde still. but in trine to Mars, it still gives us a lot of willpower. It still gives us like precision. And but again, this is very much on an authority level. Remember, Saturn rules the 12th house, which is the house of the executive. So it's a very executive mind that is working quite shrewdly right now. And then with Mars in trine to Vesta, the goddess Vesta, this is focused energy where actions actually speak louder than words, but it's also very militant. And then we have Vesta in trine to Saturn retrograde, which is all about our faith, our traditional values, our spiritual calling, and, how disciplined we are in that. So, a trine is an easy flow. But sometimes we can take that flow for granted. Do you know what I mean? And miss the point. So on top of this, Kai, we have Venus in sextile to Vesta on one side and Mars on the other. So, with Venus in sextile to Vesta, this is all about encouraging others to find their self-worth. It's a sacred mission, but it's all about soul unions, not soul destruction. And with Venus in sextile to Mars, it's very creative, especially when it comes to dance or movement, like Tai Chi, yoga, anything that, or even just dancing, to whatever musical taste you have. I think that's very good. But it's also very financially creative as well, for good or ill, do you know what I mean? But in sextile, there are opportunities right now that could, come our way. So, look out for that. So this trine is pretty positive on one hand, as long as we are all in our self-power. Now, like I said, the black moon is also going through this Kai in opposition to Saturn in Aquarius. So it can feel like we're the Mad Hatter, actually. I really do feel this is an energy of a Mad Hatter that's gone too far down the rabbit hole, or Alice has gone too far down the rabbit hole. But it can also create, a feeling of depression where we feel things are falling apart. So this dark energy is really taking us down deep, this solar eclipse. But, in that, we can find some precious gifts. If we can find that quiet space, sit in stillness and just listen to what our inner soul is telling us, what our intuition is telling us. So, kindred, I'm going to leave it there. Take it easy and, just be creative, put positivity and love out to the world right now. Sending you peace and much love. Take care.